Insurance isn't one size fits all, and shopping for it shouldn't feel like squeezing into something that just doesn't fit. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they show you options that fit your budget. Enough hunting for discounts, trying to calculate rates, and tinkering with coverages. Maybe you're picking out your very first policy, or maybe you're just looking for something that works better for you and your family. Either way, they make it simple to see your options. No guesswork, no surprises. Ready to see how easy and fun shopping for car insurance can be? Visit progressive.com and give the Name Your Price tool a try. Take the stress out of shopping and find coverage that fits your life on your terms. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Hey, I'm the medium, and this podcast is for those who wish to understand the wonderful world of spirit. Where do we go when we die? I'll share stories of mine as a medium and other mediums in our journeys, plus you will hear real-life client readings so that you can know without any doubt that your loved ones in spirit are around you all the time. I'm Jen, and this is the Singing Medium Podcast. All right, let's do this. Welcome back to the Singing Medium Podcast. I believe there was no episode last week, so this is actually going to be episode 53. We took a break last week from recording. It's been quite busy, and I'm hoping not to skip any more episodes because I know you guys are liking the podcast. Maybe you're loving it because I had some messages today, and you know how every year the Spotify app sort of goes through all of the songs that you've listened to them all, how many times you've listened to it, which is kind of creepy if you think about it, what your highest ranking podcast was, how many songs you played, like what genre, anyways. So I had some messages in my DMs today in Elevate.Her Soul on Instagram saying that I was their top podcast. I was like, okay, just give me a second here. That sort of like, when I respond to you and I was like, what? Like, I'm not acting. I'm like, really? Like, these things surprise me genuinely because I'm like, I feel like maybe like 45 people in the world listen to the podcast, but I know that's not important because I know that people who listen to the podcast or even like people who only hear certain ones are there to hear it for a reason. So when someone messages me and says, oh my gosh, I heard your podcast and you're my favorite, I'm kind of like blown away because I just am. And it's funny because Chad always like, he'll listen to the Joe Rogan podcast every morning and I'll come down and he'll have his like iPad and you know how it shows the screen of like what, you know, little tiles at the top on Spotify. He always goes, you know, it's kind of weird that like there's the Joe Rogan podcast and there's your little podcast beside him. He's like, did you ever think that you would be on that? I'm like, nope, no idea. No idea that this is going to happen. But I'm so glad I'm here. I'm so glad I'm doing this. I think I'm almost at a 1-year anniversary of the Singing Medium Podcast. So that is very exciting. So speaking of exciting, I have some news. Well, news/announcements. Oh, by the way, while I'm recording this podcast, my house is very busy. So as you know, I have a new puppy. My son is home for a couple weeks, which I love. Chad just got home. We're driving people around, cleaning dishes, watching Home Alone 2 in the background. It's all good. So if you hear any background noise, that is actually why. But that is real life, you guys. That's real life, as you know, because I'm sure right now you're listening to this podcast either in your car and your kid in the back is like kicking your seat or like asking for more Timbits, or you're at home trying to make dinner and you're not really able to hear what I'm saying because there's so much background noise, which is kind of what's going on right now. So I have a lot to cover. My main intention is to talk about one specific area that is very important to share, but I feel like I might go off on a tangent, so bear with me, and I'm going to do my best to stick to the list of things I have here I want to talk about because I did choose this topic to be about what's happening in the mediumship world, and this will pertain to you and it's relevant to you. Anyone, because if you have someone who has passed in spirit, which you all do, you all know at least one person. Some people know a lot of people in spirit. And you will also be wondering about this because it is starting to change, and regarding dreams and regarding people who are still alive and their soul. Okay, so it's very important that you listen to this particular episode. I mean, it's important that you listen to all of them, but this one in particular, because you're going to learn something new. You know why? Because I'm learning something new. And I always tell my students, I don't know everything. If a medium tells you that they know everything about the spirit world and how it works, run as fast as you can. You know what's really bad for that is TikTok. TikTok is full of, like, you know how Canadian politics talk about disinformation and I'm going to censor you. Well, I wish we had that kind of for spiritual information on TikTok, because that's where it just runs rampant. And it drives me crazy. It drives me up the wall to see things on TikTok that are not true. So I'm going to set the record straight based on my experience. And as we know, I may not have like 40 years of experience with this in the mediumship realm, but from what I have learned personally, what Spirit has taught me and shown me, this mediumship world and the world of mediums and how we connect with Spirit and the other side, quote unquote, the other side, is changing. So while we're all changing on planet Earth, we are also changing the course of the spirit world, and how what we always knew about death and what we knew about souls and what we knew about illnesses that lead to passing, how spirit can contact us is changing. It's just wild. So I got to stop talking about this right now because I got to get to my announcements and my news, and then I'll get right into it because I have a few stories to share with you. Okay? Now, what I want you to do, if you want to practice your psychic abilities, I want you to go to a website. It's not my website. You can probably hear Rudy in the background barking. PsychicScience.org. So if you're wanting to practice your psychic abilities, you want to develop it, and you don't want to pay for a course, or you don't want a mentor, or whatever it is, you're just chilling out right now, go to this website, and there's a whole bunch of games that will help you test your psychic abilities, but not only test them, but also show you how you work. So how you work, meaning like, do you see the images? Do you hear them? Do you feel something? Do you know, like precognition? All these good things, you can learn about them on your own. There's also, I don't know if I talked about this on past episodes, but there is another psychic app that you can download. So this one is a website. There's an episode you can download. It's called RV Tournament, so Remote View Tournament. You go download that, and you can practice also your psychic abilities as well. It's really, really good practice, okay? So there's always a way for you to work on your gifts. It doesn't have to be taking a course with Jen or someone else. It can be just having fun. And these two websites / apps are very helpful, okay? So if you want to do that, I highly recommend. Because last night in my whole medium program, for the first time, speaking of, I don't know everything, and we're trying different things because things are changing rapidly in the work that we as mediums do. There was, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of scrying. So scrying is a very old traditional method of zoning out / tuning into the spirit world / psychic realms. I'm not going to get into how we do this or whatnot, because that's not what this episode is about. But we did scrying, where on this PsychicScience.org website, you could try scrying. So scrying is like using a mirror or a candle flame or water to zone out and get information that is not of this world, because it's really good for people who are very logical and can't get out of their mind, okay, and trusting themselves. So we did this in class last night, and I was blown away. So we tried it in psychic class, and we did psychic information, and then we gained psychic information from the scrying screen. So it's like a blobby black mess on the screen is just moving around, and it really helps you like zone out and receive different impressions. And then we did it right after in the class of mediumship, and it was totally different. And I wanted to try it because I've never done scrying before. It used to freak me out. Like, I would never use a mirror. You guys know how I feel about that. I wouldn't trust a mirror, but that's me personally. So you can use all of these kind of tools to help you zone out. But it was very cool. I got things in a different way than I normally would. Not in a very organized way, but there was things that I got that were probably deeper than I would have got just doing a regular reading, if that makes sense. So go try these fun games. The best way to learn how to do this stuff is to have fun. That's why my classes are always fun. Because if you're not having fun, why are you doing it? Okay, we have enough drama and seriousness in our life. It's really important that when you're wanting to expand your gifts, that we have fun. Okay, so we do games. We make it really light, we make it really fun. Yes, there is a seriousness to trained to be a medium, but we plop in little fun things in there so that you don't run away screaming and crying. Okay, so speaking of classes, we still have medium 1 spots available, and we have medium 2 spots level 2 available in January. That will be Tuesday, Thursdays, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then, funny thing, I had some past students who are still actually students, so these were in a different program. These women were in a different program, and they asked me to bring a program back, which I wasn't expecting. So in 2021, I had a program called Transcendence, and basically involved some spiritual. So it got you from, okay, I'm a spiritual psychic, or I'm working on my gifts, or I'm a medium, and I want to have a business. I don't know what my business plan looks like. Like, that's where you would join Transcendence. So we're bringing it back. So that was a very expansive program. I have people that were in that course who are still training to be mediums with famous people. I have someone who almost has her dream store. I'm at a physical store, and I'm able to download your business plan. Like, I can download, like, what should I be doing with my business? What does it look like? What's it called? What should I call the website? How do I go about this? That's all that kind of mentoring that happens in there. So that will be sent out in an email. And then I'm going to try to bring back Psychic Investigations back, where that was where you do detective work basically with crimes that are unsolved. So that's going to come back as well. All right, let's get into it, and let's share some new information that I'm not sure if anyone else is sharing this. I don't know. But I'm just going to share what is happening with myself and my own students in not really spirit school, but also the classes that are outside of spirit school. That's mainly where it's happening. Okay, so if you want to still join spirit school year 2, you're more than welcome to do that and get some training. My advice is to do a mediumship class. I would start with medium level 1 and go from there, because that's where you get the most training. And it's very important when you're trained to be a medium that you get all the information that you require, okay? So here's some new things that have been happening. So let me see where I should begin. So some of the new things that are occurring, maybe I should start with how things normally work, okay? So if you're trained to be a medium, you are a medium, even a psychic, things are changing. But normally would happen, you would just be going about your day. Maybe you'll see a random spirit around somebody, no big deal. Maybe you tell them, maybe you don't. Doing a reading, you just get on the Zoom call, or maybe if you're lucky, you have a home office like I do. People come sit on your couch, and you're able to connect and communicate with those who have crossed over that belong to the person on the couch, the person having the reading. And you would just start getting information and relaying it back to your client. Regular day in being a medium, okay? So that's normally what happens. There may be a random dream, maybe your psychic studies. You might have a dream and have a dream about something, and then you find out what happens the next day. Or maybe you're also tapping into the consciousness that is happening in the future events that are coming, like I do, and you're getting dreams about it. So pay attention to those, but that's the regular way what's happening. And this has been pretty much status quo for a long time, as long as I've been studying, which is about 7 or 8 years, okay? But what's happening now is that more and more, so the study of mediumship is communication with those who have crossed over, so those who are discarnate, which means they no longer live on Earth. They have had their time here with you, and now they have to go to the other side, to heaven, whatever you want to call it. What's happening is that more and more soul energy coming through, so a spirit that's coming in is a soul, and that's what we all are. But what's happening, and is very, very, not alarming, but just more frequent in getting my attention, is that there are souls who are incarnate. So incarnate basically means people who are still alive, and discarnate means people who have crossed over. And we've been training this in our mediumship class. So what's happening is incarnate souls are coming, and they're not passed over. So here's a requirement. Basically, if you're on my couch, let's use an example. If you're on my couch or you're on my Zoom call and I'm doing a reading for you, you may receive messages and evidence from someone who has crossed. You will receive messages from someone who's crossed over. However, now you may receive messages from people who are not crossed over. So let that sink in for a second. How does that work, Jen? Good question. So let's say you're on my couch or you're on my Zoom call and you've got an uncle or a grandfather or someone close to you who is probably ill. So some of the requirements for this to occur, for them to kind of slide in the door, is that they are probably ill. They could be terminally ill. They could be in hospice, but they don't have to be. They could have dementia. Now, this has been normal for me for years. People with dementia who are alive will come through. That was the requirement. Over 80, dementia. But now it's any reason. Usually they're not well. Usually you know they're sick. Usually you know they're in the hospital or in a senior center. That doesn't have to be the requirement anymore. So here's my first example, just to help you understand. So the other day I had someone on my couch for an in-person reading, and I was doing a psychic reading. Okay, so there's 2 doors for me. Psychic door, mediumship door. When I'm doing psychic, I only open the psychic door. Mediumship door is not allowed to open. Sometimes if they really want to talk to you, if spirit really wants to talk to you, they will come in the psychic door, even though I've said, no, you may not come in. So this is what happened. So I said to this woman as I'm doing the psychic reading, not talking to the people who crossed over. No. Although they did show up and try to communicate. I was sitting there and I heard the name, so I'm clairaudient, and I heard the name Joe. Like it was really fast. It was like, Joe. And I heard it and I was like, it's like someone whispered to me and it came to my left. In the front of me to the left. And I said, oh, who is Joe? Now, that's not the real name. It was a different name, but I want to protect this person's anonymity and confidentiality. So I'm like, oh, who's Joe? And she's like, what? I can't believe you just said that name. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, well, that's my, I'll just use great uncle. That's my great uncle. And I was like, that's weird. And I'm like, I had a feeling that he was still alive. I'm like, he's still alive, isn't he? And she said, yes, he is. So that's one cool part. The second best part that just happened right after that, I don't even think it was 30 seconds after the man came through, Incarnate, and said, hello, my name is Joe. And her phone rang. And guess who it was? It was Joe. So we both kind of like, our mouths dropped and we were like, what is going on? What is happening? So we both kind of like, our arm hair stood up. But anyways, so let me explain to you how this probably worked. So what probably happened, we all have an antenna. Imagine yourself right now, close your eyes if you want to, an antenna on the top of your head, out of your crown chakra, whatever you would like to visualize. We all have antennas. We walk around all day long, beep, 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 setting off a signal. And for some reason, when my psychic door is open, and probably other psychics and mediums, this is happening too, everyone's antenna picks up a signal that, my grand niece is having a reading right now, and I'm going to let her know that I'm going to phone her. Or I don't even know the reason. But this is happening more and more and more. And this isn't the first time I've had a phone call after I said someone's name. But it was so profound and so like shocking, and like I had no idea this was gonna happen. And it was like literally 10-second evidence that this Joe was coming in, who was Incarnate, and then the phone rang. Her phone with Joe was calling her. So that was like a very big piece of evidence that incarnate souls are tuned in to you, and also when there's a reading happening. Must because we're open. We're opened up. I don't know how it works. I don't know everything. No medium can know everything. Okay, this is very important for you to understand. I will never say I know everything because I don't. People who have been doing this for 40, 50 years still don't understand everything. I don't think we'll understand most things until we cross over and it's our turn to go. I really don't. But we are having an experience. So we are having an experience. My client was having an experience. Joe was having an experience. And then wait till I tell you what else happened this week. Okay? Things are getting, I want to say weirder, but that's not the word I'm looking for. But things are getting stranger and stranger. The more that on Earth, things are getting stranger and stranger. So like as above, so below again. We talked about this before. So that's my first example of an incarnate soul that came into a reading that is tuned in. Okay? So the second story I have is going to blow your mind. So it's a little bit long of a story, so stay with me. So Sunday night, I believe it was Sunday night, I had a dream, a very strange dream. Very, very strange dream. And I'm sure you can relate to this weird dream, to a weird dream. In my weird dream, I was in a house and I felt very depressed. And just to reiterate, in real life, I'm not, okay? But in this dream, I wanted to end my life because I was so depressed and I felt like nobody loved me. And so I wanted to get attention. So I took some vitamin D to try to overdose on vitamin D, which, as we know, that would not happen. But the feeling of the vitamin D was I knew that I wasn't going to be successful in my goal, my end goal. So I was taking something else, but I knew in my dream I was trying to get attention, someone to notice me. So then fast forward, I'm in the same house and my house keeps filling up with these people, like a party, every day, all day long. I'm like, what are you? And I remember being super annoyed. Why are you guys in my house? And I kept kicking them out. I would kick all of the crowd out and they would come back the next day. I was like, get out of my house. I just want to be alone. But these people kept returning and I was like, I can't get rid of these weird people. So then, now this is important information, all of this. It sounds really weird and why is she telling us this story, but it's very valid. So then in the dream changes to I'm with Chad in my dream and my 2 teenage daughters are with me and we go to what's kind of like a Wiggles concert. So they're obviously too old for a Wiggles concert, but when my son was younger, we went to one. But so that could be a subconscious thing, but I don't think so. So basically what it was a boy band that was performing who was from a European country, German, Sweden, I don't know. So they were singing in a different language. I'm like, why are we doing here? So anyways, my girls are like, why are we going to this weird concert? I'm like, I don't know. So we all were in the mosh pit and this boy band who was from Europe singing these songs. And all of a sudden the crowd pushed back and says, okay, you all have to go sit in the crowd now in your seats. And so what happened in the chaos is that we all lost our phones. So when we get back to the seat, we're counting, okay, we lost our phones. We told the boy band to stop and give us our phones. And so my daughters get their phones back, but I get the wrong phone. Something is wrong with my phone. This is not my phone. It's not working properly. I don't know what's going on. Okay? So I can't remember I think that might have been the end of the dream, but these are the important pieces of the dream. So to give you some context, I am working privately with a student who has worked with me before. She decided that she wanted, back in March, that she wanted to have some more private lessons, and we just started doing them now. Just coincidentally doing our lessons now. So then Monday, first lesson, she says to me, Jen, so-and-so, a friend of mine passed away suddenly. I was like, oh, that's too bad. And then she starts telling the story about all these, things about this person. And I kind of started going, what? That's weird. And as we started working together, I'm trying to teach her, and this person comes in to her session who has crossed over recently. And I got a massive headache, so much pain in my head, and all these feelings of anger and just not feeling a very nice person. And then I can't tell you all of the details, but basically for the next 2 days, I was followed around by this person in spirit, and so was my student. They would not leave. So my student was smelling some smells to recognize it was this person. She wasn't comfortable talking to this person for personal reasons, but he would not leave me alone. Now this usually only happens when you get bombarded by spirit, and they won't leave when you're a new medium. So it's not really normal for spirit to not leave you alone. You can say, could you please kindly leave, because I'm free willing here and I'm saying I don't want you here. Whatever I have been trained to do, all of my training, all of my resources of how to remove spirit from my presence did not work. And we were just wondering, we're trying to figure out, why is this man not leaving and why does he feel so angry? Well, over the course of the couple of days, we figured out some things. There was some mysteries involved. So nobody knew how this man passed. And the thing with the phone made sense. So there was someone whose phone didn't work. There was a phone that was missing. There ended up being a vehicle that was missing, saying, could you please locate a cell phone? all the things, and also the story about how I wanted to end my life to get attention fit for someone related to this man. Like everything that happened in the dream was him in my dream sharing experiences of his life so that I would go the next day and tell my student what was happening. Now, I don't know if you kind of grasp the concept here, but this man in spirit was hanging out in my bedroom for a day, at least a day, and went into my subconscious while I was sleeping. That's a no-no. That is a boundary issue, number one. Number two, he would not leave, no matter what I did, respectfully declining, asking him to leave, getting mad at him, all these things. He was not leaving. So we figured out why he wasn't leaving. He wanted my student to contact this woman, it was in the dream, who was alive, to give her a message. And so at some point I was like, okay, we'll call him George. George, you have till Friday, because that's when we're done working together. You need to leave by Friday, and that's all you have. So the weirdest part is that this person who has passed recently, like a week ago, barely, knew I was working with my student, so he came into my dream to tell me some information. Now, that is very, very strange. I have never had that happen to me before, and I've never heard of this. So the reason why I'm sharing this with you, besides it being super weird and super new, so we're always experiencing new things, right? Mediumship teaches you about you, your boundaries, what you believe in, confidence, all these things that you believe you're lacking that you work on, trusting yourself, trusting spirit, trusting that you have gifts, and all these other things. But there's more to it. So mediumship, and I've said this before, mediumship is not just communicating with those who have passed. It's not. If you decide to be a medium, you're going to learn so much about yourself, and I think I have told you this before. But this was something other level, right? So you can never know everything. You can never know everything as a medium. You can never know everything that goes on with spirit. And these two experiences this week alone has shown me that the world of mediumship and the world of souls who are incarnate and discarnate is changing rapidly. And I don't know why. My feeling is, here's my theory. I'll give you my theory. Okay, so one of the theories that I have to explain this is, I mentioned earlier, is that our world is changing. We are changing. We are trying to evolve. My phone just fell. We are trying to evolve. And so when we are on Earth evolving and growing and things are changing rapidly and we can't keep up with all the change, that reflects in the above world. So that is sort of a correlation between how we are operating and how they are operating. So as we change and grow and our world changes and grows and all the weird things that are going on, the expansion. My other theory is that there are many, many, many more people who are actually dying, as you know, like an increased volume of souls are crossing over at the same time for various reasons, wink, wink. And I believe that has also something to do with it. Going back to the incarnate souls, it doesn't mean they're necessarily going to pass. It just means they go in and out of consciousness sometimes, like we do, right? We go to sleep and we go out of consciousness. We have dreams, this kind of thing. But when you're older, you're poorly, you could be terminally ill. There might be some kind of diagnosis. For some reason, your antenna is stronger and you are able to connect with a medium prior to your passing. It's, in my experience so far, it's usually elderly people who are quite old. Not always, but for the most part, it is people who are older and not feeling well and may have some kind of disease. So they're going back and forth. And these are the souls that are preparing themselves for the transition period. So nothing to worry about. It's just, I wanted to share that with you because, and I just heard Spirit say, a soul is a soul is a soul, right? A soul is a soul, whether you're crossed over, because that's our origins, right? Our origin is that light being. So we all have this in us. And when you leave, it leaves the physical body. That same soul leaves the physical body and crosses over, or it reincarnates or whatever, but it's still a light. That's why everyone says you're all one. We are all one because we're all that light body, right? So that could be the only explanation of why is because we're all souls, and a soul is a soul is a soul. So there's those two very strange. I could tell you stories for days about things that I hear in readings and things that I discover about people, and me getting very strange things, and then people in their readings denying what I'm getting, and then I find out later that it's true. And just the magnitude and the psychic readings really show you that you are blessed, okay? Because people sometimes have a lot of chaos in their lives, and that's usually the reason why they come to a psychic, because they want answers, or they have some chaos, or they're looking for some relief. But as a psychic personally, I really believe that it shows you how blessed you are. I mean, we all have problems and issues and things like this, but the whole point of this is healing. Okay? So remember that all of the reasons for everything that come up for us, we get chaotic, we get problems, issues, recurring diseases, okay? This is for healing. That's what we're here to do. Heal the planet, heal yourself. And I'm going to leave you guys, but at that point, I'm going to give you a quick update before I go on. Oh, I did promise you a prediction, didn't I? I'm going to give you a prediction as I promised. Again, I'm still saving them for the year-end show. But I'm getting also, speaking of crazy, I'm getting some crazy predictions, you guys, and I will give you one in 1 second. But I want to give you an update. If you're following me on Instagram, elevate.hersoul, you are seeing the story of my hair loss. And as you know, or maybe you don't know, it's terrifying, by the way, to lose your hair. Especially when you have long hair like me, and it's sort of, anyways, it's a thing for me. So I've been trying to investigate and find different ways of healing and wondering why. So when you go to the doctor, they just go, here's the pill, your hair is falling out, here's some Rogaine. For me, it's more than that. I need someone to investigate with me the underlying reason, which is why you would normally go to a naturopath or Chinese medicine, that kind of thing. So I am doing all these things, going to see naturopath, I'm going to see a herbalist, but I did a meditation, this random, quote unquote, random meditation the other night. And in the meditation, it was a David G one, and he said, ask your heart what it needs to say. And I was like, oh God, here we go. I don't want to ask my heart what it needs. I just want to meditate. I don't want to do any work on myself right now. But I persevered. And the answers that I got were the emotional reason for my hair loss. So that was a big shift for me in my journey. And I'm going to continue the journey. But basically the emotional reason was a trauma. And as you guys know, my trauma was my bad trip from that retreat that I went. But I'll just give you that little blurb there and just let you know I'm still working on it. I'm hoping it's going to stop falling out, because that can be terrifying to have hair loss. And thank you so much. There's a lot of people who are DMing me and letting me know they're also going through the same thing. People are very helpful. I appreciate all of your messages. So we'll get this solved very soon. I'm confident with all my help and support that I have. Okay, so I'm going to give you a crazy one, like a crazy one, okay? So I have a list of things, but here's one. You ready? It's about Joe Biden. So what I got, one prediction was Joe Biden was cloned before 2020. Okay, I don't even say they're crazy anymore. Honestly, it's probably true. It's gotta be true. Like, if Spirit is telling me, or the psychic realm is giving me this information that Joe Biden was cloned before 2022, it explained why he just celebrated, I believe, his 80th birthday, or he's going to. And I saw an article where no president has ever made that past 80. I could be wrong, but I saw a quick article. Hopefully it wasn't on TikTok, because that would be wrong. But he was cloned before 2020. And if you look at pictures of him before 2020 and you look at pictures of him now, you might get a little hit, psychic information or intuitive hit about that. All right. So thank you so much for listening to the Singing Meaning podcast. I appreciate all of your support. Thank you for sharing with me that I was your top podcast. That really means a lot to me. Honestly, again, if you tell me that it was your top podcast, I'm going to be like, what? Like, that's amazing. So thank you so much. And I'll see you guys all next time on the Singing Meaning podcast.